So welcome everybody to the Mylio Photos Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrew, product evangelist for Mylio, and I'm here to help you be successful with Mylio Photos and Mylio Photos Plus. And today we're going to talk about Photo DeClutter. Now, Mylio Photos has several tools to help you get everything organized and cleaned up, and to take all of the things that you don't need out of your library, and if you want to get rid of them. And one of those is Photo DeClutter. So how is this different from the other tools that are in the application? The ones that you're probably thinking of are going to be Photo Dedupe for finding and removing exact duplicates. We also have Quick Review, which helps you go through and quickly rate and tag photos for your best ones. So you can mark ones as picks or rejects, and rejects can even be hidden from your library, which is really cool. And that's like a low commitment way to have things, you don't delete them, but you don't have to look at them. And that kind of goes hand in hand with Photo DeClutter as well. And what Photo DeClutter is meant for is to help you clean up burst mode photos. So if you've ever gone out and you've either sat there and held down like the volume button on your phone to get a whole burst of images, or you've held down the shutter button on your camera, your mirrorless or DSLR, you've probably gotten anywhere from like 5 or 6 to maybe 30 or 40 different images of nearly the same thing. And I do this all the time when I'm out photographing anything that's in motion, particularly birds, or if I'm photographing the waves to get like that exact right spot that I want. People photographing their kids, motorsports, there's all sorts of different things that people sit there and hold down those shutter buttons for to get that right shot. But then you end up with 10, 15, 20 or more very, very similar images, but you really only got that one really good shot. And what Photo DeClutter does is help you find those groupings of shots and then narrow it down to keeping, hopefully the top 1, maybe 2 or 3, or maybe you want to keep more. Maybe there are some really good ones in that batch, and to be able to get rid of the ones that are no longer necessary. So let's go ahead and jump into Mylio. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to have a little bit of fun in my library with Photo DeClutter. So one thing to note is Photo DeClutter is available on the free version of Mylio Photos. If you wanted to use Photo Dedupe, which is our deduplication tool for finding exact duplicates, that is available for Mylio Photos Plus subscribers only. If you are a paid subscriber for Mylio Photos, that means you have Mylio Photos Plus. So today what we're going to be looking at is available to everybody, whether you're using the free or the subscription version. Declutter is super, super helpful. So in order to find this awesome tool, there's 2 ways to do it. My favorite way is to go up to the Organize menu and choose Find Similar Photos. The other way to get at this is to go into the dashboard and into Actions. And again, we have Find Similar Photos. It's 2 different ways to do the exact same thing, and it's up to you which way you prefer. I'm going to go back to my All Photos view, and I'm going to go to Organize and choose Find Similar Photos. And this launches the Photo DeClutter tool. Now, the first time you go through this, you're going to get this blue pop-up. And if you simply X out of it, this blue pop-up is going to come up every time you open the tool. If you want this to go away, you're just going to want to go ahead and click through Next, go through all of these different areas. It's going to point out different important tools that are inside of Photo DeClutter. And when you get to the end, you can go ahead and close it, say got it, and it won't show up again. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because I demo this often enough. I want those to come up and I want people to see it. So I leave it there, but I encourage you to go ahead and click through them, read them, and then get to the end. So when we first jump into this tool, there's a couple of options that are automatically set up here at the top. And so the first one here is Match Aspect. And this means that if you shot in portrait orientation or in landscape orientation, it's going to make sure that anything it groups together are the same. So the landscape images are going to be together, but if you sat there in the middle of a shot and you turn the camera to go from portrait to landscape or vice versa, it's going to see that as a different grouping. So that's on by default. Then we also have Match Camera. And this means that you could be out there shooting, maybe you have your iPhone and you have your mirrorless camera and you're taking shots at the same time, all of those images in your Mylio library. And Mylio is going to say, oh, those are different cameras. Let's put those in different groupings. If you turn this off, those could end up in the same grouping. So those are both on by default, and for most people are very, very useful. If you're a professional photographer, and let's say you're shooting weddings and you have a second shooter who maybe even has the exact same model of camera as you, this Match Camera will match it down to the serial number. So images that are from two of the same model camera with different serial numbers, those images will be separated out in Photo DeClutter. The next option we have here is the slider for within. And what this does is, you can see over here on the right, it goes in seconds. And this is a time-based value that groups together pictures based on how close together they were taken. So the bigger we do this, so let's say that would be a grouping of pictures taken within 30 seconds. That's going to be some pretty big groupings and might be a little bit too much. I would say most people, when they're sitting there firing the shutter button, I'm going to say probably hold it down for 10 seconds or less, probably something closer to 5 to 6. So you can kind of play with the slider and see what fits you best. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it there. And you can see it brings together several images. And I've got some big groupings here that I held down the shutter for quite a long time. And when you're out photographing moving subjects, like in this case, birds, you're going to have some pretty big groupings. And I was sitting in the grass watching these guys fish. And as soon as I saw them about to do something interesting, I just sit there and I just hold down the shutter, waiting to capture that perfect moment. So these are the instances where you end up with a ton of pictures. Maybe I got a couple of good ones. The rest of them can probably go away. And you can see some of these ones here that are grayed out. These ones I've already gone through quick review and I've marked them as rejects, meaning I've put the black flag on them with the X. So right now they're grayed out. I could also just hide them, but these are probably ones that I'm going to want to get rid of anyway. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of how to use Photo DeClutter. But the next thing I want to point out is over here on the left-hand side, how many images it's found to go through my library. And I don't know about you, I don't have that kind of time. Do you? This is one of those projects that has to be done, at least in my life, in smaller packages. So this is where our quick filters come in really, really handy. And you can quickly go into by folder and pick a specific folder to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to this year, and I want to find the pictures here that are in this section of bird photos. And this was on June 14th. So I can quickly go down here, find that June 14th folder. I could even type that here into the search, quickly pull that up, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that. So now I'm only seeing images from this particular folder, which has made this down to a much more manageable 78 sets and 525 files. So from here, as you're going through and deciding what pictures to keep, let's go ahead and take a look at, let's go to these two shots here. So these are two similar. Go ahead and double click on that, and I can take a look at what's going on. So I can go ahead and use the arrow keys on my keyboard to kind of go back and forth and see which one's better. Now I like the gesture in this one a little bit better, but he's a bit blurry. This one's a little bit more sharp. So in this case, I'm going to mark that one to delete. And then I can go ahead and hit the back button and go further and work through these images in that fashion. Now, Mylio Photos has some additional tools that can help this process go a little bit faster. So I'm going to go ahead and close up by folder. And we have two areas with visual properties that can help with this process. The first one is down here by visual property. And you can say, you know what, I only want to look at the ones that are not edited. So let's go ahead and click that. And we can even pin that. And we can go through and we say, you know what, today I only want to look at the ones that are in portrait orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that as well. So this limits down further the number of images that I have to go through to find the best. So again, let's take a look at this one here. We have this image versus this one. Very, very similar. You can see that there's hardly any movement. Mostly I'm just seeing the movement in the water. And I can even zoom in and take a look at the eye, because when you're looking at animal photographs or even pictures of your kids, you know, finding ones that have the eye in focus is very, very important. And I would say this one's almost a little bit more sharp. So let's go ahead and mark that one to delete. So let's go ahead and go back here. And these are some great tools that can help you just narrow down those results and find specific images. If you are a studio photographer, one of the things that's new and very, very helpful is you have options here to say, did the flash fire? So if you're using a flash, you know, sometimes a flash requires a couple of seconds to recharge. And if you're shooting off very quickly consecutive frames, sometimes the flash doesn't fire. It just hasn't had enough time to recharge, and you end up with a couple of dark frames in the middle. So you can say flash fired, flash did not fire, and so forth. So there's some really great ways to narrow this down and find the ones that are worth getting rid of and the ones that are worth keeping. Let's go ahead and scroll up to the smart tags and take a look at some of the visual properties inside smart tags. So the difference between the ones below, those are based on physical characteristics of your image, like your metadata, what it was shot with, and so forth, the different settings that were in your camera. The visual properties that are in smart tags are using AI to look at your images. So in this case, we can take a look and say, let's take a look at the blurry images. Well, nothing was blurry. We can also say, I want to see everything. Let's go ahead and long tap or right click on this, and I can say everything that's not blurry. So there's a lot of different ways you can work with this. You can also take a look here, and let me go ahead and pull a couple of options off of here, just to give us a bigger grouping of pictures to look at. And we also want to find things that have a good exposure. So under exposure, we have overexposed and underexposed. Overexposed means that it's too bright. Underexposed means it's too dark. So we want everything that's properly exposed. So let's go ahead and pin both of these. Excuse me. And then right click or long tap and say exclude. And that's going to give us everything that's not both of those things. So that helps quite a bit. And it just narrows down those results. And it looks like I didn't pin that. There we go. There we go. And it should pop up and give me everything that has a good exposure. Now, good exposure is very subjective. There's times with Mylio that I look at something and I go, you know what? I wanted to have something that was dark and moody. That wasn't a mistake. That was on purpose. So even though AI is there and it's a tool that can help, it's not the end all. I wouldn't necessarily go through and say everything here that's not blurry, not overexposed, underexposed, invert that, for instance, and say everything else can be trashed. I still want to go through those and make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be. Like, for instance, this image, since I just inverted this, it's showing me everything except what was in that folder that we selected. And is, something that's blatantly underexposed. I was inside this pub having breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and I love the lights. And so it's a very dark image, but I wanted it dark and I wanted to be able to see those lights. So that's not a mistake. That was on purpose. So there we go. That is an overview of using Photo DeClutter. Actually, let me jump back in there one more thing and show you. Once you've gone through and marked those images, you have then the option to decide what to keep, what to get rid of. So we've gone through, let's say we've marked a few things that we want to get rid of. Down here in the bottom left, you have delete checked and you have move checked. So this again is going to ask you, do you want to permanently get rid of this? Or do you just want to move it outside of your Mylio library and deal with it later? I would suggest in most cases, if it's something that you're ready to get rid of, just go ahead and delete it, be done with it. You're not going to miss it. If you're still scared, you're still not sure of how this tool works, and you just kind of want to try things out, feel free to use the move checked, and this will let you move it to a folder outside of Mylio that Mylio doesn't pay attention to, but it'll still be located on your computer and it's not gone forever. If you go ahead and choose delete checked, it's going to pop up and tell you how much space this is going to save, which is really, really nice. And then what happens from that point when you go ahead and say, yes, I'm ready to delete, it moves those pictures to your system trash can. And your system trash has to be deleted. You have to go through and empty the recycle bin, empty the trash in order for those to be permanently gone. So there's still one more step. So if you accidentally go through and you hit delete checked, and then you have that moment of panic, you can go into your system trash and use the put back feature or move it back into the folder that Mylio is watching. Mylio will re-index it. So it's not necessarily gone forever when you hit that delete checked, but you do want to make sure that it's something you're ready to get rid of. And then when you do delete that system trash, it is gone forever. So that is just something I wanted you to be aware of, but this is a very powerful tool that has helped me quite a lot go through and thin out some of those burst mode images and get my library a little bit more under control. You can see that I still have quite a bit of work to do with my 23,000 photos there, but it's a work in progress. And photo organization, because we're constantly taking new photos, adding to our libraries, making those memories, it's an ongoing process. So don't get discouraged, work on it a little bit at a time, and you're going to end up with a nice, tidy library that's well curated that you can enjoy for generations. So that is all I have for you today on Photo DeClutter. I'd like to open up the floor for questions. Take a look here at the chat and see what we've got. All right. Any questions today?
It looks like there's one question by John. Is there a selfie filter?
There is a selfie filter. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this right now. If I go into, believe it's under, which one is it? By camera, by file type, I think. And then we have under photos. There we go. There's selfies. So you can go ahead and select all selfies. I'm not going to subject that to you because y'all don't need to see all my selfies. They're not necessarily good things, but yes, there is a filter for selfies. So you can include or exclude those. So when you hit, let's go ahead and choose panoramas. You can also right click on this and say exclude if you want to. So you can select selfies and say, I want to see everything except for my selfies. So there's that as well.
Angela, what about screenshots? That's a common thing that I and my brother need. Oh, there it is. Okay.
We have a screenshots option, and that goes and looks for PDF files and I think pretty much PDFs, and I'll pull those together. If you're looking
phone
for
screenshots,
pretty much, yeah, that's what it's looking for. But if you're looking for other screenshots, I know a lot of screenshot images are saved in PNG file format as well. So you can go in and look for specific file extensions. So I know PNG is in here somewhere. There it is right there. And PDF, whatever it is that you need to look for.
what about custom dimensions? If I know the dimensions of my phone screen?
That's a great question. Let's see here under the visual properties. I know we can do by, let's see, by cropped, by orientation.
Aspect ratio?
Aspect ratio, maybe. Aspect ratio might be the one to choose there.
It would be the ratio though. Can I add custom ones here, or are these the only options?
These are the only options right now, but if you have a specific one that you think would be helpful and you're not able to find it here, what you can, you could also do by camera and lens. If you're looking for, you know, say your phone, you can find all the ones from your phone and then find all the ones that are PNGs from your phone.
Well, it's not using the camera. The screenshot's not using the camera on an iPhone, so I doubt. Well, that is interesting. I wonder what I don't have it in front of me, but I'm curious what the by camera says on a screenshot. I doubt the property is.
It might just be under
populated.
unknown.
Okay.
Something like that. And if we go ahead and click into that. Yeah, there's a handful of options there. Like there's my HP for scans. If there's a specific parameter that you'd like to see a filter by, go ahead and let us know at forum.mylio.com. And in our forum, there's a feature request section, and you can go ahead and add your request. It lets other people vote on it, and our product team watches that very, very closely.
So it looks like the aspect ratio on iPhone 12, I think is what I have, is 2.16. What are your options here? Oh, I see. It's like 1 by whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd have to do the math. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Darn that math. Diana says, will declutter exclude exact copies? No, it will not. So if you have exact copies in there, declutter might pull them up. So if you don't have a Mylio Photos Plus subscription, you can find some duplicates using declutter, but it's not going to give you the exact same options as using the Photo dedupe tool, which is far more comprehensive and has features that go through and pick the ones that you should keep, and based on a huge list of criteria. If you are interested in that, I would encourage you to go back. It was about probably a month ago, Lori, to the coffee break where we talked about Photo dedupe, and watch that one, and then let us know if you have any other questions. So it can help find exact copies, but that's not what it's meant for. Its real goal is to help with those burst mode images and ones that are similar, that were captured within short succession of each other, so you can find the ones that are best and get rid of the rest.
We also have a full webinar we did. It's about a 90-minute webinar on the dedupe function. And keep in mind, dedupe and declutter are using different data sets. Declutter is looking at the EXIF data on the photo for the time the photo was taken and for the camera model and serial number that the photo was taken with. So it's going to match that criteria specifically, data in the EXIF data of the file. So you could have an identical image that somehow has different metadata. That won't show up in declutter because the date the photo was taken was changed.
Correct.
Photo dedupe, by contrast, is actually running a hash function on the file. And what that means is that the software is looking at the actual bits of data in that file, is doing a comparison and is generating a unique identifier and number. So basically a hash function is a mathematical function. It looks at all the bits of data and it comes up with a number. And if two photos have the exact same data, the number is going to be the same. That's how Mylio finds exact duplicates. So two very different tools that use different data sets and different strategies to find photos that are identical.
Yep.
Or similar.
And it looks like John asked, what about using the safe delete button? So safe delete in Mylio Photos is to protect from pictures being deleted outside of Mylio Photos. So if you have Mylio Photos running, you have your pictures backed up to a vault or multiple vaults. If you go into the file system and you say, you know what, I don't need these pictures anymore, and from Microsoft, from Windows Explorer or Mac OS Finder, you delete them in the file system. What Mylio is going to try to do with safe delete is try to rebuild those files from one of your existing vaults, if those pictures are still available. Safe delete doesn't stop you from deleting anything from within Mylio. So if you go through here in Mylio and you say, I want to go ahead and get rid of these food photo pictures, and you right click on this and say delete files, safe delete is not going to back them up or preserve them in any way here. It's only for if I went into my file system and tried to delete them outside of Mylio. If those files are available on another vault, Mylio will try to rebuild them. All right.
Okay. And
Any
in
other
the chat,
questions?
I put a link to the simplified finding and removing duplicates with QuickFilters that Angela did not too long
Perfect.
ago. Okay, so if you want to watch that,
Thank you, Lori.
you're welcome.
Safe delete is something that you will want to turn off if you are wanting to make changes outside of Mylio to your photos, but be very careful.
Yeah.
Sure, you know what you're doing.
It's on by default. There are some specific times that you might want to turn it off, but most people aren't going to need that, and you're going to want to keep it on. So George says, should I only delete photos from within Mylio? That is my recommendation. Once everything is into Mylio, it gives you a very easy way to look at all of your photos and your files, see what's there. It's much easier on the eyes than looking through your file system. And also, if you start deleting things in the file system, and if you don't have those vaults, Mylio is going to see it as lost originals, and then you're going to have things popping up that are missing inside your Mylio library. So it's always best if you need to delete photos to do them from within Mylio. All right, any other questions? Some great questions today.
Yeah, I have one. It's Mike here.
Sure.
I was just, I've tried to use Declutter. I save a lot of photos from Messenger and WhatsApp, stuff that's been shared with me. And I find that when I run dedupe, it actually gives me up to like 16 pics. For instance, I could have up to 16 images, all of them different, none of them like a burst shot or anything like that. And none of them very similar, like a picture of my dog, a picture of someone walking over a rope, and other things. Is there any way to filter those kinds of images?
So just to clarify, when you're doing that, is that happening under find duplicates or find similar?
Find similar.
Okay. So when you're in find similar, the things you're going to want to pay attention to mostly are going to be this match aspect and match camera. Things, if you're saving them from other apps, those apps may be stripping the metadata. So it might be downloading. And when you download those pictures, especially if you download several at once, they may be saving with today's date instead of the date they were actually captured. So if those images, even if they're all very different images, have a similar timestamp, then it's going to be, they're all going to show up together.
I see.
Yeah.
There's no way to kind of filter that at all, right?
Well, you could try turning off match camera, the match camera option.
Yeah, you could do that. The other thing would be is to keep all of those images in a specific folder and then work with different folders for when you're going through and doing declutter. So that way you exclude those from the view. So let's say I want to go through and work on all of my pictures except for, let's go down here to by folder. And I don't want to look at anything that's here in the Facebook folder. So I could go ahead and pin that up there and then right click on that and say exclude. So I'm going to look at everything except what's in that folder. So if you put all of your MSN downloads into one specific folder, then you can exclude it from everything else. That makes
Okay,
sense?
thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
Dana had a question too.
All right. Is there a way to find missing files within Mylio? That is a very good question. So let's go ahead. If you have images that are lost originals, so you're looking at, let's see, you go into the dashboard devices. I'm going to go here and look at my Mac. It would say over here, lost originals. And you can click on the magnifying glass and that will automatically pop up and show you any originals that are lost. JC, is there anything you would add to that?
No, I just want to make sure that's what they meant when they said missing files.
Yeah, Dana, if you have any other information or clarification, that'd be great. And Lori, thank you for putting that in the link for handling lost originals into the chat.
Did we answer George's question? He wanted to know if he should delete photos only within Mylio?
Yes, we did address
Okay.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and Dana said that's exactly what they were asking. That's awesome. Any other questions for today? Going once, going twice.
No, wait.
Go for it. Oh, that was JC. He's just being
That was
cool.
me.
Took me a second. I was like, oh, questions.
Hello
All right.
again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
On a probably an unrelated topic, in the sync panel,
Mhm.
when I see the numbers of missing photos, I sometimes get the message saying to turn on this device and that device when every device is already, as far as I'm aware, turned on and connected. Why does that message come up?
Well, that's a really great question. So when you see the numbers here next to specific devices, this is because this is the number of photos that need to sync to that device. That device wants this many images. And that can be actual photos, that can be optimized images, that can be XMP files as well. So it's not necessarily it's that many photos, but this is how many files that particular device wants. And when it encourages you to turn on a different device to go ahead and have that sync up, that means that that other device has those files that the device with the number wants. So those devices both need to be on with Mylio Photos if it's on a mobile device running in the foreground for those things to sync and get caught up. Now, if everything's on and plugged in and all of your mobile devices, it says that they're on and connected. If things aren't syncing, that's when I would encourage you to reach out to our support team. There might be something else that they can help you with to go ahead and trigger that. JC, is there anything that you'd like to add there?
Yeah, there's a common situation, well, somewhat common situation, particularly when people are first starting with Mylio, where they try to kind of start over a number of times. So they might delete Mylio on their phone and add it again. And one important characteristic of our product is that there's two aspects to it. There is the account, your Mylio account, and there's the software application. Installing and reinstalling the software application on a device doesn't change the status of that device to the account. You have to manually remove a device from the account. Tell Mylio, hey, this device, I'm going to take it out. And maybe you want to add it back in again. But if you do that, you might end up with, for example, 2 instances of your phone on your account, where one instance is what I call a phantom instance, because you install your phone, then you remove the application from your phone, didn't remove the device, the phone, from the account, and then you install the application again, and now it looks to Mylio as if you have 2 phones connected, but really it's the same phone, and one of them is never going to be online because there isn't another phone device, it's the same device. In those instances, the best thing to do is to remove the redundant device. So if you see two instances of your phone and 2 instances of the computer with the same name, you likely did a reset at some point or reinstall the software without removing the device from the account. What you want to do is you want to remove that redundant account, and you'll likely will stop seeing those errors because they're referring to a device that it's a phantom device. It's not really part of the ecosystem anymore.
Thank you.
And it looks like we've got a couple more questions in the chat. Robert says, if I delete a file in Mylio, does it delete it from your hard drive and your vault? Yes, it does. So when you delete something in Mylio, it is a direct connection to your file system. And if you delete a picture in Mylio, it will delete it from all of your devices that have that particular photo. So if I deleted it from any one of my devices, let's say I'm looking at it here on my computer, and I delete a picture, it will delete it from all of these devices. And then George says, remind me when the up arrow with the green up arrow, the down green arrow, and so forth. If you go here into the dashboard devices, you'll see that I have some things syncing here to this Mac. If I click on this question mark, it'll tell you exactly what's going on there. So if you have the green check mark, it means that everything is in sync. That device has everything that it wants. If it has the down arrow, that means it's receiving information. The up arrow means it's sending information to another device. And offline is when those icons are grayed out. But you can always find that right here, just on that little question mark. I find that very, very handy. All right, any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you all for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun. You guys had some great questions, and I hope you learned a little something new about Declutter. It's an amazing tool that can help you clean up things in your library. If you have questions about Photo Dedupe, please check out the earlier coffee break that we did. I think Lori posted the link to it in the chat, and also some of the resources in the manual. If you have other questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me on the community. I'm always happy to help. And I want to thank JC and Lori for helping out with some of the questions in the chat. And we will see you guys next time.
Thank
Bye,
you
everyone.
both.